Hey, good evening, Garden family. This is Dee Dee's Pharmacy here in Zone 5B/6A. Today is Wednesday, July 8th. I'm out at the community garden. Let me say this. For all of my new subscribers, thank you for subscribing to my channel and for watching. And for everybody else that's been here, thank you for sticking with me. I know it's been a long time and I'll try to do better, you all. But I'm out here in my community garden. And right now I'm standing in front of my sister's plot. So I've just done some weeding around her plants. First I inspected the plants, and by inspected I went and looked at all of the squash varieties and the cucurbits, meaning melons, cucumbers, and pumpkin squash plants. And so this here is the Cushaw pinstripe pumpkin, and I looked at it, and there's some leaves dying, but it hardly has no pest damage, none. I also looked at these plants right here. This row here, going up, there's a little gap, but there's this is the Table King acorn squash, which is a bush variety, so it grows upright and kind of spreads out like the zucchinis do, versus sprawling like the other acorn squash. She has a few lipstick peppers here, and then some bean plants, her purple Maloki sweet potato plants, her tomato plants. She has some plum regal and black cherry, and then the Japanese black trifle. And I have some cowpeas over here. This is the benefit of me doing all the work of weeding her plot and watering, because all she likes to do is harvest and plant seeds and harvest. And so, which, I don't mind helping my sister. I love my sister, so I'll do that for her. She's special needs, but you know what? She likes things, and so I'm going to make sure that she has what she likes and what she enjoys too. So, but again, going back to it, the perks of maintaining her garden plot is I get to plant in it too. So I have some cowpeas here, the Janisik watermelon, which I grew last year and I really liked. Then I have some peanuts here in this little alleyway, and Waltham butternut squash. Now the Waltham butternut squash is a variety that is very susceptible to squash bugs, and so I like to lift up the whole vines, so I can look at the leaves, the underside of the leaves, as well as the stem. And then when I find squash bugs, I go ahead and manually take care of them, because to me that's the best way. At the community gardens, most of them anyway, they don't allow you to use pesticides and herbicides. You have to be organic. Most of them, at least here in my area, you have to do organic gardening. They do have some allowances like that 7 Dust, but I just prefer not to use anything. So I do manual pest control. Now, right here, I collected these leaves. This is how I manually maintain squash bugs to keep from having an infestation. So I go through and I just pinch off. When you see these little brown beads clumped up like this in the creases of your leaves, they'll usually be on the underside, and sometimes they'll be along the stem, like the actual stem part. But and then every now and then you'll find them on the top, but typically they like to hide their eggs where they hide. And so I just pinch off that whole little piece of leaf. The plant will be fine. I just pinch it off, and then I take this. Do not dispose of this in your compost bin, in a trash can, because these things will manage to find their way back into your garden. They live in the soil, so there'll be a problem later on. The best way that I found to deal with this, because you can't really squish these beads, they're almost like little bitty rocks. So what I do is I take this, I ball it up, and then I stick it inside of a plastic Ziploc baggie. Ziploc baggie. The baggie has to close securely. And then I leave all of this outside in the sun in that Ziploc baggie, so they're going to hatch. So when they're hatched, though, they're contained, and then they end up suffocating and dying, and they're not a problem in my garden. So I just wanted to check in with you guys. I'm going to go ahead and go up top and show you my garden plot. Let me take this with me. and it's a mess. Just know. I like to let the weeds grow up some, not all this grass, but I like to let the weeds grow up because I use weeds to feed my plants as well as to suppress weeds. And this has been such a crazy year, y'all. There's a lot of people who have their plots, but they haven't, you know, they've been thrown for a loop. So they haven't been able to come out and do anything with it. So the weeds are hip level, stomach level, waist level. And then here is my plot. And it's a mess, but I'll get to it. So I have some sweet potatoes here that I started at home, and they're doing all right. A Watham butternut squash, which I need to inspect. I have a squash coming up there. I need to go through and inspect the undersides of these leaves, do my manual pest control. I'm wasting a lot of space here, but I'll get out to it because I've been managing my home garden. Here is another Watham, no, not Watham, Cushaw striped pumpkin squash. What happened was all my squash, pumpkin squash, Cushaw squash were started at the same time, but I transplanted. My sister, she had 5 of them down there. So I took 2 and moved them up here. This was the transplant and this was the transplant. This one, for some reason, struggled a whole lot more and didn't bounce back as quickly. So that's why it's so much smaller. And then here I have honeydew plants. And you can see I have some honeydews coming up. Because for me, everybody takes, you know, pride in growing tomatoes and peppers, right? But for me, it's fruit, melons. I have a sweet tooth, so this is how I satisfy that. And let's walk over here. Hopefully, you know, there may be some snakes, but oh well. I have some hills of potatoes. Then I have a cucumber plant. If you saw my cucumbers down there, you know I harvested some. And they're down there at my sister's area. This is bush pickle variety. You can kind of see that tag up there. Can you see the tag? Bush pickle. And I have some coming up. And then I have all my tomato plants are the Japanese black trifle. I really, really like those tomato plants. They are such good flavor. Then I have pepper varieties, and they're separated out by basil plants. So, and then some more Japanese black trifle tomatoes. Then I have my purple Maloki sweet potatoes and some Bogard, LSU Bogard sweet potatoes. And somewhere in here, oh, I'm stepping on them. My baby boy, he wanted to plant some onions, so that's what we have in here. So we probably won't get a good harvest because I'm letting the weeds take over. And then here is another Table King bush acorn squash variety right here. Okay, I do see a little squash bug. He's hiding down in there, and you'll see him kind of moving, that little dark spot. And I'll get to him. But you can kind of see how these grow upright, like the I'm looking, they haven't laid eggs yet. I wish I can get to them, but it's kind of hard. Where's that coming from? With this plant, because he's down there in that little crease. Okay, well, you live for another day. But you can see I have some acorn squash coming up there. Maybe if I can put my feet there and get them out. Then I can squish them. Manual pest control, y'all. I used to be so creeped out by doing that, but it doesn't bother me now. And then here, this little area, I have the Desert King watermelon, and then that's some random watermelon. I think maybe an Alibaba or something. But you know, I'm not making the most of my space, as you can see. And I just been so busy with trying to homeschool my children and do other stuff that's been on my to-do list. And so we've had rain in between all this heat wave weather, heat wave-like weather. So the weeds are really taking off. They loving it, if you can't tell. But I'm going to get out here and I'm going to take care of this and plant some more stuff and make the most of my, let's see, we're on July 8th. So I'll probably end up starting some of my kale plants probably here, or maybe some huckleberry. But anyway, let me show you. This is one of my neighbors. This here plot is nobody's plot. And usually this time of year, if you see a plot, these weeds are literally 5 feet tall. Well, you know, the tails of them are. But if you see a plot that hasn't been used, typically you can go ahead and start gardening in it. They're really nice that way at the community garden center. So like I have another plot right beside me. But I'm already trying to maintain 3 ground plots. And the ground plots are 20 by 25. But now this is a lady. She gets out here. She complains about the weeds all the time. But her and her mom and niece and daughter, they all come out here and they work their plots. And she has some pumpkin growing too. And then that's going up the way, up the hill to my raised beds, because I also have raised beds. You can see that people plant sweet potatoes, and I gave him these tomato plants, and his tomato plants are looking better than mine. But these are a different variety. These are Jet Stars. So, and we'll walk over here. Hey, for all you guys that have been with me, if you remember a couple of years ago, back in 2018, I had planted, this is my bed and it's a mess, and I'm going to take care of it. I got a couple little peppers and some tomato plants, 3 tomato plants. This is some surprise garlic, and I see one of the garlic heads is dropped off into the ground. And this is the cream of Saskatchewan watermelon. This is some lettuce that I've let go to seed, and some Savoy Perfection cabbage I need to pull up, and a few bean plants. The old tiger, it's a brown bean. And then this is also my plot, my ground. Now this is outside of it, but I'm gonna take care of that because the groundskeeper, he's been letting this stuff grow up like nobody's business. But I'm wasting my space. I meant to plant some more stuff, but anyway, this is my canary bird zinnia, and then I have Cushall striped pumpkins growing. And I see something hiding. Let's see what's this on my sunflowers. Some kind of beetle bug. I'm telling you, the more varieties of plants that you... Oh, this is a Japanese... dang on Japanese flea beetles. Can you see them, you all? You want to kill those every chance you get. Dang it, and I just knocked them off. Oh, well... Some more of my little canary bird zinnias, and these Cushall pumpkins are really the weight of these are pulling these over. Some more of my sunflowers. Can't wait to see what because I can't remember if this is the Velvet Queen, what I planted. I kept dropping watermelon seeds, but they didn't do. And I have pumpkins coming up, y'all. Little baby squash. See that? And then this is my 3rd bed, where I have some of the smaller sunflowers. See, look at that daddy long legs in there. Can you see him? Ooh, he hops. Maybe he's not a daddy long leg. But I dropped, now I'm going to tell you something. This is the Genesis watermelon. They're very slow at growing. And I may need to go ahead and pull up some of these sunflowers because they may be getting shaded out too much. Starting to come outside of the bed. But I dropped 14 seeds and only 5 germinated. And they don't produce a whole lot of seeds. It's not a seedless watermelon. Oh, looky here, you guys. I have my first watermelon. Yay. But they don't have... Oh, there's another watermelon. You all see that? There's another watermelon. Yay, so maybe I'll get 2 this year. Hopefully I'll get more, but we'll see. So I actually have 3 raised beds, and technically you're not supposed to have more than 2. But what happened was I had a raised bed, and some new person who just didn't, they just didn't know, or I don't know. It was some confusion. And so even though she saw plants in the bed, right, she was assigned to the bed. So she just took the plants that she wanted and then planted her stuff inside of my bed, which is over there. And her bed is very productive. She has a lot planted in here. But like these are some of my collard plants that she took. And then she put a bunch of tomatoes and pepper plants in a very small space. Uh-oh, she doesn't have this mistake, so it's falling over. No hard feelings. I don't know what's going on here. Lots of tomatoes, but, you know, I don't know. And she took over my bed and planted in it, but she didn't know, and we had a conversation, so it's fine. But what the community garden center did was they comped me a third bed. So this is my bed, and then I have this one, you know, as a replacement bed for the one that I paid for up there that she took over. And here's another some kind of beetle bug. You see him? I don't know. He has some very long antennas. I don't know if those are antennas or pinchers or what, but I'm going to leave them alone. And then they gifted me this bed. So that's what I did with it. Not a whole lot, but I was really hoping to have a lot of watermelons and thin out some of these sunflowers, which I am going to thin these out. But anyway, this is Diddy's Pharmacy. I may come back and finish watering tomorrow because it's hot and I'm tired. But okay, y'all. Let's see. Some other kind of weird. I think these are some kind of squash. Look at these bugs, y'all. Can you see them? But as long as they stay away from my melons and my pumpkins, I'm okay. I'm seeing all kinds of weird bugs. All right, y'all. Be easy. Make it a good one.